Hello everyone, this is the Odd Admiral and welcome back to another video. Today, AmazoGoat and I are going to spend 100 days in Better Minecraft. If you don't know what Better Minecraft is, essentially it's Minecraft 2. It's a mod pack containing over 200 mods that are all designed to add more difficulty and fun to the game. There's more mobs, bosses, biomes, and dimensions. So grab a snack and sit back while I take you back to day 1. Day 1 started as any other. Even in Minecraft 2, you gotta punch trees. After that, we got ourselves some stone tools and headed across the river to a nearby village. We spent the whole day ransacking it and got some good loot by the end of the day. Up to more shenanigans day 2. All this wheat is mine. Hey, speaking of mines, we found a cave near the middle of the day and decided to head down there and see what we could find. Iron. That's what we found. We found iron, but we wanted better than iron, and our lust drove us deeper and deeper into the cave, until eventually my folly led to my death. But I lived, because we're not on hardcore. The reason why is because Spencer, and especially I, are not very good at the game, even though we consider ourselves Minecraft veterans, so this gave us a chance to get a little bit better as we went along. After making my way back down and getting my stuff, I took out my anger on some nearby zombies. After that, I felt better, so we decided to continue exploring. This is what the new abandoned mine shafts look like in this mod. It's pretty epic, but this time I was a little bit more careful. There's zombies everywhere down here. Day 4 was the day of iron, iron, and more iron. This mine shaft was completely full of it, but we wanted more. Always more. Still in the caves, day 5, I had a very close call with a couple of skeletons, but I'm getting a little bit better at combat. You really need to know what you're doing down here. This skeleton came around the corner and almost got me. But it wasn't all bad. We ended out the day and I found an epic chest with diamonds, a ton of iron, and an enchanted pickaxe, which I completely and totally wasted in just the next day. While we were mining on day 6, we found a goblin trader, and this guy will trade 1 iron ore for 2 ingots, but he was also insisting on getting blown up by creepers, and we couldn't save him. I'm joking, he was fine. This guy must be indestructible, and I used up his whole iron trade, but then Spencer got me back by finding diamonds first.
Oh, freaking heck.
Spencer, this is for you. Did you find diamonds?
I did. I found 1.
Naturally, after that, all we wanted was more diamonds. So we mined the whole rest of the day and found a couple, but we were tired of not seeing the sun. So we went back up to the surface. And this was the first time that we experienced cold. And Spencer really got hurt.
Oh. Okay, go. I'm dying. I'm freezing.
Spencer, go get Spencer,
Go.
Spencer, go. Going so fast. Spencer, you can make it. Oh, you're shivering. You poor guy. Here's the torch. It was a close call, but we finally got Spencer back and heated up. And that was the end of our first week in Better Minecraft. On day 8, we had a mighty thirst for adventure, so we killed some cows and made some backpacks and started looking for a place to settle down. Day 9 was spent on the river. We were looking for the perfect place to build our home base, and we ended up camping in the gravelly, wind-swept mountains. There's nothing like the great outdoors. At the start of day 10, we knew we needed to find a place soon. We were getting tired of sleeping outside, and eventually we found this nice property right by this lake. This was going to be our home. So we made a small builder's hut where we could sleep through the night while we were building our house, and got ready to build the next day. The next day came, and we started by clearing out the land where our house was going to go. Then we started talking about different plans of what we wanted it to look like. Eventually, we decided on a tall structure with 2 living wings on either side for the both of us. We continued construction day 12. So far, we just have a big box. But hey, the whole game is about boxes. What do you want from me? On day 13, we were visited by the local HOA, and we politely sent them away. Day 14, the house was complete enough for us to put some stuff away and get ready to go to the nether. We were tired of construction. So we carefully collected some obsidian, and by the end of the day, made a weirdly shaped nether portal so it didn't mess with the symmetry of the house. In the nether, day 15, we defeated the Blaze Guardian, but he didn't drop any blaze rods, so we kept exploring. We spent the whole day, day 16, raiding the fortress, and then we decided to head home. We wanted to quit while we were ahead. Day 17, we made our way back from the nether fortress. We went the long way, because the fortresses are too confusing and we kept getting lost. By the end of the day, though, we made it back safe and sound. Except for Spencer. He got lost in the ceiling. Okay, we've really got to finish this house. I'm tired of fighting off all these zombies. Day 20, I decided to set up some farms. I'm always getting distracted, and that's why the house isn't done. Yep, more mining and more building. This is kind of a big project. Day 21, we put a waystone down the center of our house. Now we can teleport here from anywhere. I can't sleep if I can't smell your feet.
Oh. What person?
Okay, Spencer's adventure time.
Adventure time.
Day 22 was adventure time. It was time for us to find the end city, fortress, the end stronghold. So we spent that entire day preparing, including doing some enchanting, and set off in the morning. We were boating for that entire day. We crossed a pretty serious ocean, and then that night, we slept under the stars. We found a village that next day with a graveyard. We made sure to pay our respects. And in exchange, they taught us cooking. These are some good people. And we ended the day with a good old-fashioned prank.
You punk. Dude.
That's a run. What fun. We traveled for 3 more days until on day 27 we found a jungle temple. Then we spent the night on the beach. More exploring, day 28, we found a western town, and after fighting off the powers of darkness to get out of my boat, we went exploring and found the greatest piece of loot yet.
Porter, I got us some stuff. I got us something really epic.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah! The town ain't big enough for 2 of us.
This is our town now.
Yep, there's a lot of things about this mod that makes Minecraft better, but by far the best is the cowboy hat. And at the end of the day, we decided to take our cowboy hats and head home. Day 29 doesn't exist, but Spencer did some off-camera building, and on day 30, we threw an Eye of Ender and started following it. Day 31, we found a village and stole their items, and then I added to the number of orphans in the world, but then decreased the number of orphans in the world. Charity feels so good. We traveled a little more that day and then put down a waystone to save our progress and headed home. Once the server woke up on day 32, we continued on our journey and slept in the desert. Exciting day, day 33. It's time to dig down and find the stronghold. Everything I've worked for, everything I've tried to become, has it all come to this? Falling to my death in a dark hole in the middle of nowhere, miles away from home? Maybe they were right. The ones who said I couldn't be anything. Maybe they were right. And that's what Respawn is for. After making my way back, I collected my stuff and we headed down into the stronghold. Now this wasn't a normal stronghold. This is Better Minecraft. So the stronghold is huge and it has tons of loot. We're going to be here for a while. Eventually though, we were able to find the portal and we have all but 3 of the ender eyes we need. But we're not going to go through right now. We're going to get some stuff, get prepared, and come back later. There we go. That's so bad. You ready to go home?
I think so.
On day 34, we realized there was only 5 days left until winter, and we had to get our home done. So we got to work.
Just fix it.
Another day of building under our belts. Can't wait to do it all again tomorrow. Spent a lot of time counting on day 35. It turns out I'm pretty bad at it. Day 36, I took a quick trip to the Nether and was back in time to install some windows. Day 37, we decided we need some animals and spent an entire day getting one cow into a pit, and he stayed there for the whole winter. Then we created a portal to the Twilight Forest dimension, and we were planning on leaving the next morning. By the next morning, we were ready to go, and as soon as we spawned into the Twilight Forest, we saw a home and started ransacking it. As you do. We weren't recording the second day we spent in the Twilight Forest, but we killed the Naga and brought his head back, and that seemed like a great time to tear up my entire floor and replace it with slabs. I wanted the extra head height. Day 42, I spent a lot of time looking in chests for stuff because I am extremely disorganized. And don't worry, we haven't forgotten about the cow. We put some torches in there to keep him warm. After that, spent some time decorating my upstairs. It's gotta look good. I deserve it. Spent all that night and into the next day organizing and placing chests everywhere. It was winter and neither of us wanted to go outside. Today, I took my wife and child on a tour of the house. My wife says it looks a little bit like Edward's house from Twilight, and my son didn't say anything because he can't talk. Today, I went off on my own in search of adventure. Because it was winter, I had to keep stopping and placing torches to keep myself warm. But eventually, I found a village, and the locals were very accommodating after I stole all their stuff. I spent the night there and was home by the next morning. We wanted to go to the Aether dimension that day, but didn't have any glowstone, so we went to search in the Nether and couldn't find any. We had gotten our initial glowstone from the Twilight Forest, so we thought we'd jump back in and find some more. But after searching and searching, we found diamonds, but no glowstone. We ended up just using the glowstone that we had been using to light our house. We'd be able to find some more later. And this was our first experience in the Aether.
Taking me along, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, me too. Oh, there we go. Oh, I'm falling though.
What?
Advancement, I've been falling for 30 minutes.
Whoa.
What? I guess it was a mistake to make our Aether portal so far down. So that was our fault, but still kind of sucked. Luckily, I was able to retrieve my stuff since I fell almost on top of our house and returned to the Aether for some adventure. But it wasn't fun at all. There were poisonous plants and lots of slimes, and it didn't seem like much else. I was not very impressed, so I came home early. After that, I did some mining. I had had a really hard time, and I just needed to do something chill for a little while. Day 53, I headed into the Nether. I had heard that you could find essentially piglin villages in the Nether, and I wanted to see if I could find one for myself. Perfect place to set up a trading station. Unfortunately, I did not make it very far before I realized that my pickaxe was almost out of durability, and I had to turn around and head home. On day 54, after coming back home, I fought an ogre in the early hours of the morning, and then headed back into the Nether, where I got stuck, and Spencer had to come and save me. We spent the next day making and enchanting tools from nether rubies that we found in the Nether. We still really didn't want to go outside. Currently, the Nether is one of the only places we can go where we don't start freezing every 10 seconds. And so we're back, looking for nether reeds, which is the only way you can craft tools with ores you find in the Nether. It took all that day and into the next, but eventually we found them, and I made an epic diamond Cincennite pickaxe that became my go-to nether pickaxe. On day 58, I started building a monster spawner, but a thunderstorm started.
Okay.
So I ran back inside. On day 60, we had finally worked up the courage to enter that spider pit right next to our house, but there wasn't much there for us, so we left pretty quick. On day 61, we decided to make a pilgrimage to our original spawn point for some adventure and to collect some more waystones. At this point, we didn't know that you can just craft them. Using our charged ender pearl and a horse, we were able to make it back within a day. One of the biggest reasons I wanted to come back was for this ebony wood. It's like totally black and it just looks so cool. What can I say? I can't go back. On the next day, we found a pillager encampment and I tried to go in there guns blazing and got basically and totally wrecked. So Spencer and I slept it off and came back the next day. The next day, we were a little more prepared and we both went in there like pros. And each of us ended up getting a totem of undying. But then Spencer tripped a trap, and the whole thing went up in flames. It was like an action movie. After we got those totems, we considered our adventure a success, and headed home. Early on day 63, Spencer finished a roof on the top of our house, in between our walkway. This way we don't get a bunch of icicles there in the winter. And then for the rest of the day, I worked on our mob grinder. It was a big project. On day 64, I spent a lot of time watching a YouTube tutorial. This is my first mob grinder. And by the end of the day, this is what I've got done. But I kept on it. I worked all night. And by the next morning, it was looking pretty mob grindery. Whoop! Hey, I'm getting pretty comfortable up here. Having this new totem is really nice. I worked all of day 66. And by the morning of day 67, it was done. But so was I. I jumped down, saw this creeper, panicked, jumped off the edge so it wouldn't blow up and ruin our collection area, and it all happened before my ender pearl could recharge. So I popped a totem. Sad days. Hey, at least I got the achievement. The next morning, I decided to put a chair down to make AFKing at the farm a little bit more comfortable. And then Spencer and I decided to go and adventure again. We were excited to find all the new mobs and biomes and structures that this mod pack had to offer, and so we decided to go in a direction we hadn't quite gone before. And as the sun was setting, we found a fisherman's hut out in the middle of nowhere and decided to camp there for the night. Today is day 69, but we didn't know that at the time, so we didn't do anything special that day. We just went back to that old pillager area and went to town. Now that we had some more gear. And it was pretty easy, and we got some pretty good loot. But then Spencer blew it up again. He has a knack for these kinds of things.
Oh. Hey, look at all this coal we can get.
There you go. After our marvelous conquest, we spent the night sleeping on the beach. Oh, whoa, look at that. Yep, the next day we found some more ghost towns, and we spent the whole time in this mesa biome. And then I met a friend who would be with me well into the future. And his name is Juan Papillo. We spent all that day and into the night looking through the ghost towns, and didn't really find anything new. It turns out, once you go through one, you've gone through them all. There is no footage for day 71, but unfortunately, Juan Papillo met his demise. He was defending me from many hordes, and I fought them into the night, but eventually they proved to be too much, and Spencer and I decided to make our way home. The only problem was, home was really, really, really far away, and we hadn't found any waystones along the way. And in order to craft one, we needed an ender pearl. So Spencer and I decided to search for a village that day, and then try to find an enderman at night. We were searching all that day, and trying to find endermen into the night, but we never found one. By the next morning, we had given up and just decided to boat our way home, that it was our best chance. But then, we spotted a village. in the one place we hadn't checked yet. And of course, it had a waystone, so we made our way home that morning. The remainder of that day was spent organizing our spoils from that past trip. Would you like to see it? It's quite riveting. Lots of wandering around and looking in chests and going back to grab other stuff. And really, I could sit and watch this for hours. But I know you couldn't, because you're weak. So we're moving on. Right now, I'm breaking gravel to get flint, because we're going to fight the Ender Dragon next. So we spent the day making sure we had everything in order. We didn't want to lose and embarrass ourselves. This was going on YouTube. The Ender Dragon fight went really well. We had both done this before. We took out all the crystals, created an Enderman safety area in case any of them got mad at us, and then slowly took the dragon down one head at a time. And before we knew it, we had freed the end.
Yeah!
Oh, I did it! That was me! We were pretty excited. We made sure to collect the dragon egg, also collected 4 dragon scales, and headed home victorious. Oh no! That's right. The last place I slept was in that ghost town where we spent 2 days trying to find a way home. Luckily, I knew right where the village was, so I was home within a couple minutes, but it was still pretty inconvenient. Day 75, it was just me. I ended up going to the Twilight Forest dimension to mine for some diamonds, and then came home to enjoy the view while sitting at the mob spawner. All in all, it was a pretty relaxing day. The next day, I went mining to find some lapis. I was ready to do some enchanting. I ended up getting a diamond pickaxe with unbreaking 3 and efficiency 4. Pretty nice. Vein mining really doesn't do anything. Day 77, I'm in the Nether, and I found a villager. That was totally crazy. He was a cartographer. I made sure to replace his door so nobody would come in and kill him. Then I left him there, even though he begged me to take him with him. And then I spent a crazy amount of time trying to deflect a fireball back at a ghast, and couldn't do it. Eventually, he phoned a friend, and I had to get out of there quick. I spent all of day 78 running home from the Nether, probably because I kept skipping parkour, like just then. After that, I did some more organizing of the spoils of my epic journey. And then, in the morning, I made one of the worst mistakes I've ever made. I wanted an elytra. It was greed that did me in eventually. I decided I would take it upon myself to go to the Outer End Islands without Spencer. And it was my downfall. I'd never wanted to cheat so bad. Maybe I could look back at the recording and tell Spencer my coordinates, and he could build down and make a little bowl that I could land in so I wouldn't fall into the void. I have 46 levels. I have all my gear. Surely if I fall into the void, everything is going to be gone. But we didn't cheat this entire time, and I couldn't start now. So even though I spent a few days logged out, eventually I logged back in and met my fate. Oh. My grave has been generated. Y3Z14. Wait. Maybe my grave will still be there, Spencer. When I saw that message that my grave had been generated, I knew there was hope. So I gathered some materials, and Spencer and I headed into the end to try and get all my stuff back. I think this might be a bad plan.
Okay, you go first.
Spencer, it was a bad plan.
Is it right there?
Yeah, it's just waiting. There were end warthogs waiting at the exact place we spawned. And every time we spawned in, they would knock me right off the edge and back into the void. So there was only one thing I could do. I had to bridge all the way out there.
What are you at?
Eventually I made it and built all the way down to my death point. And I got all my stuff back. It is. After that scare, Spencer and I decided to be a lot more careful as we traversed through the end, though we did have a couple jokes along the way.
Oh.
We were searching for a long time, and even though we found a couple things, we did not find an end ship. That would have to wait until the next day.
Which way do you think it is?
I have a good feeling about this direction. And it turned out my hunch was right. We found an end city and an end ship in the next unloaded chunks in an area where we'd passed before. So as soon as we could, we started towering up to the ship. We really wanted that elytra, and we were met with a lot of resistance once we got there. But the loot was worth it. Finally, an elytra. After that, we tried to get some more loot, but there were shulkers everywhere. So we just headed home. The next day, I was doing some enchanting when I remembered I could make rockets. So instantly, I set out to find all the sugarcane I could find. Now, I'm going to be honest, I have never used rockets before, so it was a bit of a learning curve to me. But once I got it figured out, it was epic. Travel just became a lot easier. I spent the rest of the night just flying around. Everything looks great from up here, and it takes such a short amount of time to get everywhere. This was the greatest thing that had ever happened. But we needed one for Spencer. But Spencer wasn't around the next day, so I lollygagged a little and went through a lot of his stuff and then flew around some more. I wanted to see how far I could get on the rockets that I had, and it turned out I could get really far. I could get really, really, really far, and then realize that I didn't have any rockets left. And that's exactly what happened. So I spent the whole night killing creepers and collecting sugarcane to try and get enough rockets to make it home. And by the morning, I had made it all the way to the epic palace that we had to abandon before. But this time, I felt like I could take it on. And it turns out this place had some pretty great loot. My strategy was to run around and break all the spawners I could as fast as possible. And then fly away, wait for all the worst monsters to despawn, and come back when there was just skeletons and zombies. I know it was a little cheap, but the monsters that would spawn were pretty insane. And I went straight from this place, which I call the palace, to the end. We need to get that elytra for Spencer. Since the end cities that spawn in the Better End mod aren't the exact same, we thought there'd be a chance an elytra would spawn at the top. But there wasn't. So, none today. But we did get a lot of great loot. 3 shulker boxes worth, and it took all day to put it away. I spent the next day flying all around the end, using up all my rockets trying to find an elytra for Spencer. And even though I found another end city with some pretty good loot, there was no ship. This time, I brought home even more shulker boxes full of stuff, and it took even longer to put away. Eventually, I consolidate my storage system and make it a lot easier, but not until 200 days, so sorry. On day 90, Spencer and I each took a looting 3 sword to the nether because we were going to fight the wither.
I got one.
Oh, nice. We're good. We are good. It didn't take long. We had one already, so we each only needed to get one. What did take long was making our way all the way home. It's the wee hours of the morning on day 92, and Spencer and I are looking for the perfect place to fight the wither skeleton. We don't want to fight it underground like a bunch of normies. No, we're gonna fight him man to man. And at long last, here we are. We have been preparing for this moment. This isn't the bedrock wither. This is the Java wither. This is easy. He's just a big old pushover. Huh. Well, you know, maybe in hindsight, I could have used my elytra to glide away, to glide out of that. But this was the first time I'd ever had an elytra. So I freaked out and just stared straight down and died. By the time I boated all the way back there, Spencer had almost died to the wither and had lost track of him. and so now we just had a wither loose in our survival world. Luckily, we were able to find him on the mini-map, but it was still a rough battle. By the end of the day, we had brought the wither to its knees, or whatever it has dangling from it, and we had gotten ourselves another star. As soon as we got home, we got straight to work. We wanted a beacon as soon as possible. So we laid out all the ores that we had gotten over this entire time, and Spencer mined them all with his Fortune 3 pickaxe. By the next day, we had mined down to bedrock and placed a foundation for our beacon. And though it wasn't completely perfect, we had beacon powers. And we spent the rest of the day working on a sugarcane farm for our rockets. And back in the end, day 95, it's important to me that Spencer gets his elytra before this is over. And oh, there's an end ship right in front of me. And here it is in all its glory, already enchanted with Unbreaking 3 and Mending. Spencer, you've earned it. Today, I was exploring in the Aether dimension when I fell off and got lost. It turns out the Aether is a bit like the Nether, and I was a very, very, very long ways away from home. And I got back just in time for day 100, and here we are. This has truly been an epic 100 days. We accomplished a lot. This is definitely the longest I've ever spent on a single survival world. I'm really glad I did the challenge, and you should do the challenge too. So Spencer and I just spent the rest of that day walking around, checking out everything we'd done, and just reminiscing about all the great times we'd had. But there are definitely a lot more things that we can explore. There are things like dragon scale armor. There's extra bosses in every dimension. So if you want to see that, be sure to like and share and subscribe, and we will release 200 days.